Welcome to the Recover You podcast. I'm Kylene.
And I'm Patrick.
We are a couple in recovery
from sex addiction
and betrayal trauma. Together, we share our story to encourage you on your journey. It's here that we talk about sex addiction, betrayal trauma, mental, emotional, and physical health, faith, and anything and everything needed to recover you to your most authentic self that God created you to be. Hello. I just wanted to give you a quick intro to today's episode. So we are going to be discussing modesty, and the reason I'm giving you this little intro is because depending on what your background is, your feelings, your thoughts, your faith, upbringing around the concept of modesty, and or where you are in the recovery journey, this particular episode might bring up some feelings, might be a little triggering for you, and so I just wanted to make you aware of that. Just a reminder that Patrick and I are recording this episode from a place of deep healing in all of these areas. And so what we're talking about is the idea of real, true health, being able to walk through the world, viewing people as human beings and not putting our healing responsibility on others by using things like modesty culture or modesty rules to project on others so that we are doing the right thing. So, like I said, this is not something that we are talking about, 1 week after discovery when all of my inside parts are super activated and triggered by the discovery itself. So just know that there may be some things that we say in this episode that might feel a little triggering to you depending on where you're coming from. But if you are very, very, very new in your journey and you choose to listen to this episode, I hope that it offers you a vision of health, a vision of how far you can get in your recovery journey. So that is just so full of freedom for both of you. I also want to just make a particular note for betrayed partners, because I know there's a section where we're talking about gyms, going to the gym. And I know that can be triggering for betrayed partners as well. So let's say there's a situation where the betrayer is someone who ogles women in real life, and gyms are places that they feel very triggered by. I want to make sure that you know that we acknowledge that depending on where you are in the recovery journey, there are certain boundaries within the coupleship that are very much appropriate. And so we are not dismissing that. And I want to make sure that is stated. So if the two of you have decided that certain places are off limits for now, or the betrayed partner just feels uncomfortable about something, even if the betrayer is in a deep place of healing, those are all okay. Those are coupleship decisions for the health of your relationship. And that is totally fine. That is absolutely fine. What we are really trying to focus on is the big concept of what health is and what is right and wrong in terms of not projecting our woundedness on other people. So I hope that is encouraging. Again, if you are new in your journey, I hope that this episode offers you a little bit of hope and encouragement in terms of how far your healing can go and how deeply healed you can be. And if you are deep in your healing journey and far along, I hope that you resonate with this episode and hear some things that are encouraging for you as well. All right, without further ado, here's the episode. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Recover You. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Kylene.
What's up?
Oh, not much. Saturday? We're recording on a Saturday afternoon, in case you didn't know that.
Me, personally, in case I didn't know that.
That's actually possible. Sometimes you don't know that.
That is true.
Yeah.
When I worked in a customer service job, we had mail that would come in, and I would have to stamp certain things with the date. And I swear, I would at the time I was like, this is the only way I know what the date is because I would stamp the mail every day.
That is true. I don't think you've ever done anything like when I've been home on a Saturday and you're like, why would you be home on a Tuesday?
Yeah, mixing up the weekends. I usually, but see, you're part of the clock for that, right? You go to work during the week and then you're home on the weekends. And so, unless it's a weird time off week or something where it's you have a 3 or 4 day weekend. Right. Usually it's Patrick's home. It's a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. And here I am. No, everything's good. We got a chance to talk to Keegan yesterday. So he said something during that call
that just made your heart melt.
Yeah. What did he say? What was it?
Well, we were talking about his life and everything, and he was telling us about what he does, and
and how he has to get up early.
He gets up early, and he was telling us about he's like, I like to get up an hour earlier than I really need to because I like to do this, and I like to do this, and I like to journal.
I have a cup of coffee, and I like to journal.
And I was like, Keegan, I think you just made your dad's life.
Yeah, I could feel a smile come over my face.
Also, that's such great feedback when he's just randomly telling you about like what he does in the mornings. You're like, oh, you do?
I know.
At 22? Who does that at 22? Good for you, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. So,
so proud of him.
I felt good about that. So
it was a journal I think you had gotten him, and he's trying to use that.
Yeah. It's a journal. Just so everybody knows, it's a journal that I found called the Successful Men's Journal. So, and actually,
self-reflection.
To be quite honest with you, I think it would be good for everybody. It just happens that there might be a companion one, but it's really cool because it has little things in there like how do you view your body? How do you view your lifestyle? And like you rank it, and then you come up with like things to do. And so like there's little challenges. Like there's which is actually a really really good one, but it's like a social media challenge where it's like you don't look at it the first 2 hours after you wake up or an hour before bed. Mm-hmm. And so like, what you do is you fill that time, right? So you read or you do whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you could journal too.
Nice. Imagine that as a recommendation for Patrick.
So anyway, it's called the Successful Men's Journal. I got one for me and I got one for him just to, so we could kind of go through it.
Awesome. Well, now that we know he does it, we should keep like Christmas presents. He's going to get bombarded with all your favorite journals from now on.
I know. It's going to be awesome. So.
Okay. Well, today, I thought we would talk about, what do you call that when it's like my brain.
Something in pop culture?
Pop culture. Thank you. A pop culture moment. Yep. Thank you. You knew exactly where I was going with that. A pop culture moment that's currently happening, a phenomenon that is currently happening. And some of you may know this, and some of you might be like, I don't get on social media. I have no idea this is going on. And honestly, if that's you, kudos to you. Mm-hmm. But since it sort of applies to a lot of what we talk about, I thought I would talk about it. So that's what we're doing today. And the topic is modesty culture gone wrong. Dun, dun, dun.
Wow. I didn't know we had a theme song for today.
Yes.
Soundtrack for episode 182.
Yes. All right. So I'll make sure that our other modesty episodes are linked in the show notes because we have talked about this before, and we've talked about attraction versus lust, and we've talked about modesty and those sorts of things. So we will put those episodes. But there is a thing going on social media right now where a couple Christian male influencers, one of them posted a photo of three of the guys. They had worked out, and post-workout they were like, hey, look at our gains. Like we're doing pretty good. And so basically they flexed and they took a shirtless photo of the three of them, flexing.
Yeah.
Big deal, right?
Wasn't pornographic, wasn't anything.
Just three guys in a gym flexing.
Yep.
The Christian internet has gone wild with this story. And it's just so unhealthy, the way people talk about modesty, the way people talk about quote unquote stumbling blocks, the way people talk about, it's just the whole concept of this topic in Christian culture is something that really, really bothers me because I firmly believe at this point, going through everything that we've gone through, I firmly believe that a lot of the ways Christian culture talks about modesty and purity culture actually contributes to a lot of the problems because it increases shame, increases fear, increases activation. It makes everything bad, even when a lot of it's not technically bad. It labels everything as sinful when stuff is not sinful. And it just strikes fear and makes you feel disempowered in the way you interact with and engage with other humans. And so every time something like this comes up, it just like kind of blows my mind a little bit. And since we're talking, literally our whole podcast circles around this concept of sexual dysfunction and intimacy disorders, it came up and I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Let's do a podcast on it. So basically these guys took this photo, no big deal, posted it, no big deal. And then everybody is like freaking out that it's quote unquote immodest and inappropriate and they shouldn't have done it. And to the point that the guy that actually posted it, so it's my understanding that there's 2 quote unquote Christian influencers that were in the photo. I don't know who the third guy is. He might be an influencer too, but anyway, 2 of them are pretty famous and pretty well known. And the one guy that posted it has taken it down because he doesn't want to offend people and he doesn't want to, contribute to anything, blah, blah, blah. So here are my thoughts. Number 1, if people are going to have opinions, at least let them be consistent. So for the people that hold these opinions with modesty, at least they are being consistent because this is men, which you normally see this directed at women, right? So I would say at least this is happening where if you're going to hold this opinion, they're holding men to the same standard. So I gotta appreciate that because normally what I see when you're talking about modesty is just that it's constantly aimed at women, right? Mm-hmm. But I still disagree with it. So one of the biggest things I think is so problematic in this conversation is that every single time it comes up, the problem is always it's somebody else's fault. Somebody else is responsible for my thinking. Somebody else is responsible for my health. Somebody else is responsible for my inner world. And for me to be able to navigate the world in a healthy way, I have to somehow control other people.
Yeah.
And that is such a problem to me when you're talking about becoming a healthy human being. There's no world in which you will not be exposed to something in your life that is inappropriate. And we're doing this parent training course in about a month, and we're doing this at a local church for local parents to try to help them to educate about the dangers in the world and to help them protect their kids. And one of the things that is just so horrifying about like the world in general is that you can have all of the blockers up. You can have a safe home. You can have people that don't search things out. You can have everything could be 10 out of 10 good. You're doing the right things. You're not looking for it. You're not seeking it. You're not doing anything quote unquote bad. And a child is going to be exposed to something. So it is so much less about controlling the world and controlling other human beings and what they wear. And it's so much more about empowering the individual to understand how to relate to their mind and their body in a healthy way that helps them feel grounded so that they can walk through the world feeling totally confident that no matter what I'm exposed to in an unwanted way, I will be okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, and hello, Kitty. And
Kitty said, "Amen."
Amen. There's varying levels of, there is a reality, and this is a true thing that certain people have triggers, and so what we're saying, or what I think we're saying, is that there may be people who saw the photo of those 3 men and were triggered and maybe acted out sexually. That could be an absolute reality. But to your point, that's not their issue. That is your issue. Now, here's the thing, too, like within this, because I was thinking as you were kind of leading in and describing the story, I can see the Neanderthal maybe that's a horrible thing to say.
Where are you going with this?
Well, I could see like the Neanderthal person that says, no, I'm allowed to look at women on Instagram because, you're trying to push purity culture on me. Meaning like let's say you don't like what your husband looks at on social media. Let's say you don't like that, right? And so what we're trying to articulate here in this thing, he goes, oh no, I can look at women on social media. That's a purity culture thing that you're trying to force onto me. It's like, well, no, hold on a second. There is a healthy thing. So let me pause just there real quick. I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
You're saying the argument against purity culture can be twisted.
Yes.
To then say, well, then I have a right to be to sexually act out because
or to look at whatever I want,
objectify people,
right.
or whatever. Yeah. No, because the whole point is personal responsibility.
Right.
But in order to be a healthy human, that doesn't mean you project it onto everybody else.
That's right.
So it's not the women who are attractive. It's not their responsibility to protect you from their attractiveness. And it's not these guys' responsibility to not post that picture. It's not a bad thing. And that's the thing that I think is so frustrating to me is like, because we are people that have been wounded in the realm of sexuality, it is really, really easy to say, well, let's just shut everything down and I'll never think of anything sexually again. And I will never feel anything and never think about anything. And, but
I will never learn how to navigate through the world in a healthy way.
Right. It's just, everything is just done and gone. Right. Like, let's just shut it down. But that's kind of a trauma response. That's not healthy. I think what's hard is like when we've been wounded in a certain area, we tend to want to go to an extreme because it helps us feel more certain. But what we should always be holding on to in terms of the goal in life is health and what is health. And so in your example, that would still not fly because what's the definition of fidelity in that for that person? What's the definition of sexual health for the individual? Is sexual health someone that is scrolling past people and objectifying them sexually? No. Is sexual health scrolling past people, seeing a photo like that and going, wow, they really look good and they worked hard and I can appreciate that, and then you move on? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So part of the problem with the conversation when it comes to modesty culture and purity culture is that you want to apply your standard, or I would rather say your opinion, to everyone else to make you feel better about work that you're not doing internally, or a struggle that you have going on internally. But it's not their fault, because there are people that can dress completely what everybody would deem appropriately, and people will still have a problem with it. I literally saw a mom, post something the other day that she said, like, my daughter got told that her shorts were too short at school, and they were like literally like, they weren't short shorts. They were like long shorts that came like above the knee, but they were sort of like that long, like really, really long. Like, it wasn't like a 3-inch inseam or 4, like it wasn't even like normal shorts. It was like a long pair of shorts, kind of like what you would see like boys wear, just maybe a little more fitted, almost like biker shorts, but they were jeans, if that makes sense. Yep. I saw that picture and I was like, you've got to be kidding me that someone would say those shorts are too short. Like, in what world, you know? So, that's the problem, is because then when you go, well, my standard is the standard of modesty, my opinion is what everybody should follow. Well, where does that end? Right. Yeah.
Who
says that your standard is the right standard? Who says that your version of modesty, because it helps, it makes you feel good and safe, is appropriate for everybody else?
I wonder,
because where does that stop?
Yeah, right. I wonder, when you told me this story a couple days ago, or yesterday when I got home, I was thinking, I was like, would there have been a different reaction had they been out on a boat on a lake and taken a picture of them because they just got
enjoying time in the
sun, right?
Yeah,
because it's a different context at that point, right? But there's no, it's just the background. Put them in front of a green screen. Put them on the beach. Put them in, it's not a problem. Right. You know what I mean? So if your standard can't hold up everywhere, and I would argue that the reaction would have been different. I don't know for sure, but if the standard can't hold up all the way through, then it's not a good standard.
Yeah. Well, and I want to go back to this idea of like, where does it stop? How do you know that your version or your expectation or your desire for other people to dress a certain way is the quote unquote right, healthy way?
Yeah.
Like, who are you to say that? Because where does it end? I mean, just to go all the way to the extreme, do you want people dressing head to toe, covered, like wearing, we all have seen what has happened, like in Afghanistan, where women's rights are taken away to the point where they can't even come out of the house. Their faces are covered, their bodies are covered, their heads are covered. They're not allowed to sing in public. They're not, like their voices can't be heard. I mean, there's an extreme here. And I know people pushing purity culture and modesty culture would say, oh, that's not what I want. But you have to think through, like, where does this go? When you start saying that my opinion, because of my problems in my inner world, is everybody else's responsibility, that's the kind of rule that you end up getting.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and so like as you're talking about where does the standard end? Who enforces it? What does it look like? So so you want them to have a shirt on. Can they have a tank top on?
Right. What if for my friend it's shoulder muscles or biceps or something?
If it's a tank top, does it have to be a tank top that comes up here and covers their waist? Or can you wear one of those like Florida tank tops that come down?
Right,
and like, is that okay?
Oh no, because then you're seeing a little bit of the abs to the side of the shirt.
That's right. So like where does it end? What about, there's and you and I always joke because I have these workout shorts that are kind of short, and I'm always like, these are the bomb. And so
they're so tight.
They're
short.
Awesome. They're awesome.
They're like, what was that, like in the 80s or whatever, when they used to be like super short workout shorts for guys? It's basically like coming back.
You're welcome. So, but what length is okay? What length is acceptable? What length, whatever. So yeah, it's a really, and I love the point you're saying that when you try to impose your standard on other people, then you're shirking your responsibility to heal and behave well. Yeah. As I was driving, I saw a post. There's something called a lust-free gym that was started by a Christian, and it's interesting because I guess what he's saying is, and I don't know the full particulars other than to say I think it's a gym that's free of women in
tight clothes.
Probably tight clothes, sure. Right? So part of me kind of goes, maybe that's okay because initially that's what you need. Like you don't want to be, if you're giving up drinking, you don't want to go to a bar. You don't want to go to a bar while you're starting to work through that. And I think there's even I was even thinking as I was thinking through that, I was like, aren't there even like male or women's
female only gyms?
Yeah, so
but
they
you think
can
about
go,
that's less of a modesty culture thing and more of a safety thing.
Yeah.
Like women feel, there's a whole male-female dynamic.
Right,
women talking about lust, if you want to throw that in there, women maybe don't want to be ogled so much at the gym, so they want to go to a female-only thing where they feel little.
Yeah. So I don't. Once again, I think there could be some benefit to that while somebody's entered a healing process and they're kind of working through it and they want to stay fit, and I can see the value in that. But once again, who's deciding?
Yeah, where's the standard?
What's the definition of
what
lust?
Are women actually allowed to wear in there?
Yeah. What is it not yoga pants? Is it running shorts? Like what exactly?
Do they have to dress like a guy?
Yeah.
What if a girl, and so there's beautiful people in the world, right? There are women that can wear the baggiest things in the world and they are just beautiful women, right? And there are guys.
I would say that everyone is beautiful, honey.
Yes. But I'm just saying there's people in the world that could wear a trash bag.
I see what you're saying.
And their features are so beautiful that they're striking people, right?
Yeah.
That people are going to say, oh, that person is very attractive regardless of what they're wearing. Mm-hmm. So it's, again, I don't feel like there's any level of this that can be successfully done because it always takes the responsibility away from the person to do the healing work. The reality is, when you're talking about health and sexual health and a healthy inner world, you should be able to walk past a very attractive person, find them very attractive, and move on from it.
Right.
You're not, revisiting that later and masturbating. You're not you're not picturing them naked. The idea is if you are someone in a recovery journey. Of course, there are different phases throughout it. Like you're saying, in the very beginning, we've talked about putting the guardrails high. We don't want all these triggers. We want the nervous system to calm down, the brain inflammation to calm down, then the neurotransmitters to rebalance, all of that. Yes. Let's not make it harder for ourselves up front. But if the goal is not to be someone that humanizes other people, if the goal is not to get to a place where no matter who I see, I view them as a human being and not a sexual object, then the recovery process, the way you're thinking about it, is problematic.
Yeah.
That's not, you're not going to get to a good healing place if you can't view people as human beings.
Right.
And as soon as you view them as human beings, they become less sexualized.
I also feel too that you can have 6 months of really great success and you're moving forward and you're healing and you're going. And if something pops up on your feed or if whatever and it catches your eye, well, that's an opportunity for you to explore that and say, man, why did that come up? Was there something going on in my life? Maybe you didn't relapse, but all of a sudden you noticed yourself noticing more or whatever that is. And so it gives you the opportunity to go, man, why would that Why would that draw me in?
Right.
And normally it's probably because there's some cleanup that needs to happen, or maybe you're going through a difficult time that you hadn't gone through in the course of recovery yet.
Yeah.
That you're saying, okay, wow, it's weird. I wasn't expecting it to show up that way.
Yeah.
And
we say a trigger is a reflection of an unhealed wound, which is exactly what you're saying, which is, again, my responsibility. My activation by a scenario is my responsibility to deal with. It's not the person's responsibility to take that photo down. Now, listen, I just said that, and I can hear comments coming in about, well, can that statement hold up against the world of pornography? Again, we're talking about sexual health and normal human beings, not sexually explicit content. Okay, we all agree that that should be taken down. Stuff that is done explicitly to be sexualized and to be in the adult industry and to be the materials that are literally designed to create that response and to engage with people in that way is inappropriate. We can all agree with that. Yeah. But normal humans going about normal human activities, wearing normal human clothes, I think that's what we're talking about here. And we want to get to a place in life where we see people as human beings, and even to the point where if you did get exposed to explicit content, that you would view that person as a human being, so much so that you would have care for the person behind that photo and not see that photo as a sexual opportunity. That's the difference. And that's why I'm honestly so glad that this happened in a way, because when you shine the light on it with men having their shirts off in a gym, it seems so ridiculous. And so I'm actually like really, really glad that this is coming up, because the way that it has been put on women has also been very ridiculous, but people want to argue with it so hard. But if the standard can't be the same across the board, then it shouldn't be a standard. So it's so much... people want to fight so much more for women to cover up than they do men. So I'm kind of glad that this came up, because it just points out all the flaws in the system that have so far been applied to women. Yeah, yeah. Well, and all of it, for women, it's really difficult, because 1 minute, 50% of society is telling them to cover up, and even some of those 50% who are outwardly telling them to cover up or telling them to uncover. And so it's a really challenging place for women in that regard, because it's like they're damned if they do, damned if they don't, versus like, can I just go about my life and live it? That's it. Yeah. Well, we've talked about it many, many times. When we talk about modesty, I always bring up that museum where it's I think the display is called What She Wore, and it's examples of sexual abuse occurring and what the woman wore when she was abused, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it's normal clothes and regular shorts and T-shirts and dresses, and all the way up to a burqa. And so it doesn't matter. You think about the conversation of modesty and purity, I mean, through the ages, right? You used to wear, these long dresses, and it used to be so scandalous for a woman's ankle to be shown, right? And now we don't sexualize the ankle. Why don't we sexualize the ankle? Because it's like a normal thing that we've sort of been taught is not a sexual part of the body. Right. So much of this is just this ingrained conversation about what your brain will do, and you're told that it's sexual, you're told it's taboo, it's made a thing, which is why I think the conversation in the Christian culture is so harmful, because it puts fear and it puts activation and stress on human beings about how to view other human beings. So let's get to the point where we're talking about because this always comes up when I talk about modesty. If I make a video on social media or anything, usually it'll come up where it's like, well, Kylene, if we're not talking about modesty culture and purity culture and covering up, then how do we teach our kids what we think about modesty? And I feel like the healthier way to do it is you instill from a young age a couple things. First of all, self-respect and self-worth and self-value. You raise kids essentially to have healthy levels of self-love. When we talked about this, not narcissism, not being kind to other people, but it's, I have value. Okay. And when you raise someone, when you see people that just feel grounded and feel safe and feel valuable, and they aren't constantly looking for validation from other people, then there's a different aura there. And a lot of times kids that are like humans, I would say just humans in general that have more self-confidence don't need that level of validation from other people, right? And it reflects in the way they dress. Now, I'm not going to say what that means in terms of how people dress, because again, I'm not going to project any sort of standard on anyone. For someone, that might mean shorts and a tank top, and it's just put together well, and they look nice, and they do their makeup, and they go out and they live their life. For someone else, that might mean a sundress and some tennis shoes. For someone, it just depends, right? But the idea is that, it's how do they use clothing? They use it to feel good, to feel put together, right? Because it's a reflection of who they are. And so we want to raise kids and adults in recovery. We want to get to the point where we feel comfortable in our bodies and we feel confident in who we are. And then our dress is a reflection of that. Right. And then on the other side, we are raising the kids outside of how they view themselves, how to view other people. We're raising kids that say, how do you humanize other people? How do you treat other people? How do you think about what other people are going through in their lives? If you see someone going through this experience, what do you think they're feeling? If you see someone going through this experience, what is something nice that we could do for them, right? So it's really like teaching people from young ages to feel confident in who they are, and then also to respect, value, love, appreciate, and treat other people well. And those two things in combination solve so many of these problems in terms of how we relate to each other, because the problem in and of itself is that we sexualize everybody, and the more you tell people that people are sexual beings, and the more you like focus on, don't be sexual, and don't sexualize this person. What are people thinking about? It's like the elephant in the room kind of thing. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're thinking about it, and just stresses people out. And then the stress causes more stress, and then they're like triggered by something like a guy flexing at the gym on the internet.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like normal human things become overly sexualized.
Right, yeah. Well, we had told the story before about my exposure to Southwest Ohio in summer events, and versus growing up in Miami, where bikinis and boys not wearing shirts is just, it's part of normal. The day, part of the day to day, but it's only 3 months out of the year up here, so we're going to control it, right, and stuff like that. And it's just, you're right. A human body is a human body, and it's fine. And if somebody works out well and they feel good about their physique, well, just feel good about your physique, and that's really okay. And there's people that lose a lot of weight, and they want to post that picture, and they want to show how hard they've worked, and that's great. And we should honor that. We should say, hey, good job, and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking about, as you were talking it through, like he apologized and he took it down, and he's probably a really nice guy. And he's like, man, I don't want this controversy.
Yeah, that's kind of what he said. Yeah, he doesn't want to contribute to controversy and stuff.
And so, maybe he has strong opinions about it, but he's like, I just don't want to do this on social media, or something like that. But I feel like, it might be a missed opportunity on his part. And once again, it's not his responsibility, but maybe it was a missed opportunity on his part to say, hey, why did this trigger you?
Well, I don't have a problem with him putting it up. I don't have a problem with him taking it down. What I have a problem with is that there were so many people that felt validated in shaming him for a normal human activity. Right. That the level of outbursts that this has created in the Christian community it's not reflective of him at all. It's reflective of the lack of sexual health in the Christian community itself. Yeah. That is what it is a reflection of. Yep. And that is why I have such a problem with how we talk about it, because I actually think it contributes to the problem itself. Yeah. It contributes to people continually being sexualized. It contributes to us objectifying people. It contributes to us not taking responsibility. And frankly, it contributes to people not believing that sexual health is actually achievable. Because inside the Christian community, we keep feeding this idea and this lie that this is just the thorn in my side. This is the struggle that I have to deal with forever, because really viewing someone attractive like is something that I can do without going to a bad place? Yes, it is. Yep. Yes, it is. And I am here to tell you today that you can do it.
But it might take a lot of work. It might take some work to get there.
Right, but you have to know that it's possible is my point.
Right.
The problem that I have is we've done this podcast for how many years now?
17.
People listening, not that long. People listening know how we feel about it. They know that we believe that it takes hard work. We don't want you to leave any stone unturned. We want you to set the guardrails high. I'm not disagreeing with anything that we have shared so far. I'm just saying that we need to stop having conversations in a way that diminishes the reality that sexual health is possible. So why do you do all this work? Why do you set the guardrails high? Why do you go through the recovery process? It's not to struggle the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. It's so they can interact with attractive people and normal people in the world in a healthy way, so that you can feel confident in who you are and not stress out in case you walk by somebody at the grocery store that happens to be a model. It's so that if something is an unwanted exposure in 5 years, that you don't freak out about it.
Right.
Because you know who you are.
That's right. You move from, in my case, a person who made a lot of bad decisions to somebody who makes good decisions no matter the circumstance.
Right.
And so 100% of the time. And so that's you're absolutely right. That is health. That is viewing people for the human beings that they are. It's honoring those people day in and day out, no matter what you may come across. And once again, honoring the fidelity of your marriage, or if you're in a marriage, and really looking internally and taking full responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just taking responsibility to to really ask yourself, how do I view other people? And I think this goes, we could think about this from the addict perspective, really, really easily in terms of the whole conversation that we've had. But I think what's going to be almost even harder is for the betrayed partner, because we've been wounded in that area. So one of the things that happens after being betrayed is that we find ourselves objectifying people or seeing women in a more sexual way, because we are looking for things that could potentially be triggers for you, and they've become triggers for us. And so then we fall into this pattern that feels really uncomfortable of now all of a sudden I'm noticing women's bodies. Now all of a sudden I'm scanning for danger and all this kind of stuff. And so for betrayed women to get to the place where they are so healed and they feel so safe to just navigate the world and not view things as threats, and that's a process that they have to go through as well. It's not just the person who's done the betraying and has acted out sexually. A lot of times the betrayed partner and the idea of trusting and believing that once you've been hurt in this realm, that person has the capability to get to the level of sexual health where they can see people that are attractive and not do anything bad with it, that can be really, really hard because you've been hurt in that specific area. But again, we don't want to when we're going through recovery, the point of recovery is not to just manage our life. The point of recovery is to decide what is actually healthy. What is a healthy interaction with the world? What is a healthy relationship with my mind? What is a healthy relationship with intrusive thoughts that are unwanted that just pop in? What is a healthy relationship with my body? What is a healthy relationship with sexuality? What is a healthy relationship when I find people attractive? What do I do with all of that stuff, right? And so that's what I mean is really having this vision of what does sexual health actually look like? And you have to believe that it's possible. And you have to believe that it's real and that it exists and that you can accomplish it. But all the messaging that spikes fear in people and keeps you on your toes and keeps you jumping at every, time somebody breathes next to you because you just don't know if you look over and you're going to find them attractive and what do you do with that? That kind of messaging just keeps people stuck. Mm-hmm. That if you don't believe that you can get to the place of sexual health that I'm describing, then you won't, because it sounds cliche, but we achieve what we believe. Yeah. We can't achieve something we don't believe is possible. I'm never going to drive to the state of California if I don't think California exists. Mm-hmm. I have to know it's there to actually plan the way to get there and to do their self-reflection, to look inside and go, what's keeping me from getting there?
I didn't believe it, really, really early on in recovery, but when it finally hit that I could live that way, that was because I had convinced myself that I couldn't, and because I hadn't, and so
You're welcome.
Yeah. So being able to get to that point was that realization that came in that said, "Oh man, that's how I can live," and it became exciting because it became the destination, and I was like, okay, I know what I've done, but man, I don't have to live that way anymore, and I don't have to to do that, and I can protect people, and I can be safe for you, and I can be safe for anybody who's in my life, and that's regardless of what I did. I can be that safe person now, and so it's a really what's the point of going through healing if you don't believe that?
Exactly.
So...
Well, we see it way too often. People get into a sobriety that feels stabilizing, and then they stay stuck there for years. They stay stuck. And people, both partners in the relationship, are essentially emotionally miserable because they don't get to the place of freedom. And I don't know if that's sometimes because the work to get there is very, very hard, or if it's because a lot of times people don't have this conversation and they don't actually know that it's possible. And that's why, I'm sure that people listening hear the passion in my voice. This stuff, I am super passionate about it. I've been personally wounded by it. I have been personally traumatized by these issues. I have been raised in this culture. I have done the deconstruction and reconstruction. I have done the trauma work. I have done the healing work. I have had someone cheat on me, and I'm the person telling that person, you can do better. And so I know what it is to go through all of this crap. I know what it is to be stuck in that cycle of fear. I know what it is to be harmed by this stuff. And I also know what it is to live in freedom and to just be going in the world and to trust you when you go through work trips and everything, that your brain and your heart is in the right place and that you're fine. And I know what that feels like. And I want that for people because I think that, frankly, that's the gospel.
Yeah.
That is what Christianity is supposed to be. Is that when you do the work and you are emanating God's love and God has done his work inside of you, and then you translate that to other people, you see them differently. You relate to them differently, and you move through the world differently. That is what it is in a nutshell.
Yeah, and imagine if imagine, we always talk about being a good witness and stuff. If people go, hey, what is it that you got?
Yeah.
Because, man, you look so grounded and you look so put together.
You're not triggered by this. You love other people. Yeah, you're generous. You're kind.
Right. And people
just named all the things that you are, Patrick.
Aw.
And some more.
You are too. You are too. But man, I want some of that. I want what you got. Tell me how you got there.
Yeah.
And
hard work.
Yeah.
Spiritual transformation.
That's right.
Deep recovery work. Tons of self-reflection. Here's the kicker. This is, what all of that takes? All of it takes transformational, radical honesty to look at your own shit.
Right as you said that, it was interesting because you said, I was cheated on, and I know you were talking about me. I remember early on, I knew I was unfaithful, right? That was a fact. But there was a part of me that didn't like that label. You know what I mean? And so I've gotten to the point now where it's not that I like the label. I'm like, yeah, I'm a cheater.
What are you talking about?
It doesn't bother me anymore because I know I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you could have just as easily heard that sentence and thought about my ex-husband.
I know. But I think that the healing has helped me do that. I accept. It was radical acceptance of what I had done.
Yeah. Which
once I had accepted it, it helped me move forward. It really, really helped me move forward. And it's uncomfortable. And I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie that into if listeners know who the podcaster Theo Von is. Listen, I don't endorse everything necessarily that Theo Von does, but he's very popular, and sometimes when he talks, he goes super deep. And one of the things, there's a clip that kind of went viral, and he's talking about prayer. And he was talking about praying to God and asking for God to help him change. And he said, while I was praying, I knew that there was a little part of me that was lying. That was I knew while I was praying for God to help me stop this behavior that I was going to do it again. And so what he said was, he started praying, God, will you come into those parts of me that are lying? Work on those parts of me that don't want this, or that know I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And that has started to change, his inner world. And that is it. That is it. And that's so parallel to what you said at the beginning of your recovery journey, which is I prayed, and nothing was happening. And I just did absolutely nothing. Then, but it was always with a caveat. Don't let Kylene find out. Don't let Kylene find out. Help me change this, but don't. When you have a caveat in your prayer, or there is a part of you that knows you're going to do it again, you're not being honest with yourself.
Right.
You're not being honest with God, but you're not being honest with yourself. And there are verses in the Bible that talk about God literally ignoring prayers like that. He just ignores it. He's not going to help you because it's not sincere, because you're lying to yourself and you're lying to him. The minute you took that caveat away and said, help me no matter the cost, guess what happened? Within a month, I found out. And here we are today talking about freedom, being on the other side of it.
Right.
And as soon as, Theo said, I, started praying that he would work on that part of me, because he was honest, things started changing. So we lie to ourselves about what we actually want in life all the time.
Yeah.
We say, I want this, but then there's a huge part of us that says, but I don't really, because I feel really comfortable here. And getting there feels way too scary.
Yeah.
So if that's true, we just have to be honest with ourselves. Tell yourself the truth. That's going to be the first key. But if you're really, really honest with yourself and what you really want is transformation, absolutely every single person that has that alignment can accomplish it. Absolutely. I have absolutely no doubt about it. So I hope this... every time we have a conversation like this, I get so riled up.
She does.
Every single time. It makes my head explode, because it's the opposite of what I think the gospel of grace is. It's the opposite of what I think loving other people looks like. It's the opposite of what I think healing looks like. And it's so frustrating to me that that's all covered up it's like wrapped up in like this, Christian package of like, but this is like, this is what modesty is. No, that's what a lack of healing looks like.
Yeah.
So I get really riled up about it. So, but I also conversely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Finish your
what
thought.
were you gonna say?
I was going to say, so if I was to recommend to the church, don't ever talk about modesty. Don't ever just
literally
strike it.
The word should not be in your dictionary.
Take it out of your curriculum.
Yeah.
Take it out of your lesson plans, your sermon planning. Talk about health.
Yes.
And talk about defining what a biblical version of health is, and
how God created sexuality. How it's a beautiful thing. What should it be used for? In what context? Frame everything in the positive.
In non-shaming language.
Because then we take all the fear and everything, and you're focusing on the good.
Yep.
So many times when good people are trying, or when people that struggle, with this stuff, or say that they struggle with it, are they're trying to do the right thing, and by trying to do the right thing, they focus on the bad thing. And by focusing on the bad thing, they're thinking about it all the time. And it has the converse effect. It has the opposite effect of what we want. So, Philippians 4:6. Think about things that are good, that are right, that are, holy and pure and blah, blah, blah. Focus on those things.
Yeah.
And that's a much better way of set your mind on things above. It's another one, right? So psychologically, it's just better. It's more successful. It's so much more successful, and it just feels better. But anyway, I was going to say, alternatively, I get really riled up about how bad it is and how it keeps people stuck. But alternatively, I get really excited about sharing with everyone listening, freedom is possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I hope that also comes through, that hey, we've been through it. Patrick and I have been through every variety of this almost. And yet we're sitting here feeling so much better and so much more free, so much more comfortable in our bodies, so much more comfortable in the world, so much more comfortable in relating to other people, because we believed that this was possible and because we did the work to get there. And we absolutely 100% believe that every single person listening, if you want it and if you believe that it's possible, can get there too.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Anything else to say around modesty, purity, culture, blah, 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 blah?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, every day, I was like, do I say it? Do you say it? All right. He's looking at me. I'll say it. Every day is a new opportunity to choose health and freedom. Make that choice today, and we will see you next week. Woohoo! If you're listening to this, it means you've made it through an entire episode. Part of recovery is spending time engaging in healing and self-growth activities. We are thankful that you chose our podcast to be one of those activities today. Make sure you reward yourself for that accomplishment. If you've enjoyed this episode or this podcast, we would love to hear from you. Please take just a few moments to leave a rating and review, letting us know your experience with Recover You. We not only love hearing how these episodes are helpful, but ratings and reviews help others just like you who are searching for recovery information and support find the podcast too. We can't wait to hear from you. See you next week.